The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
It was the best of times and the worst of times. While the majority of Americans are struggling to survive during this pandemic and essential workers are being burned on the altar of greed, the top 10% of this country now owns 89% of the wealth generated by stocks. Let's discuss that and so much more today. We begin with On the Clock with Georgia Ford.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, October 20th, and we take a look this morning, Ben, at a number of different issues. I know that you've been covering some stories as well, Ben, so I'd like you to just share with us the stories you're following this morning.
Georgia, as I stated at the beginning, and good morning to you, and thank you for allowing me to jump right in with this. I know we normally begin with your voice, but this morning, as we were covering the news, it came out now just how bad the situation is in terms of wealth inequality in this country. And I think that is something that we oftentimes, I can't say that we move past it so quickly because we do discuss it here, but so many times our mainstream media really does not cover it. And we are left in a situation where the situation continues to get worse.
Yeah.
We're talking very specifically about the top 10% in this country. A report has come out showing that they now own 89% of the stocks, of the wealth that is generated on Wall Street. And how many times have we been sold a pipe dream in this country that we should pull ourselves up by the bootstrap? Meanwhile, most of us don't have bootstraps. I want us to take a listen into this clip that explains exactly how dire the situation actually is.
Wealthiest 10% of American households now own 89% of all U.S. stocks. That's a record. According to the latest data from the Federal Reserve, the top 1% gained more than $6.5 trillion in corporate equities and mutual fund wealth during the COVID-19 pandemic, while the bottom 90% added $1.2 trillion. The stock market, which has nearly doubled since the March 2020 drop and is up nearly 40% since January 2020, was the main source of wealth creation in America during the pandemic, as well as the main driver of inequality. The total wealth of the top 1% now tops 32%, another record. Nearly 70% of their wealth gains over the past year and a half came from stocks. That's one of the fastest wealth booms in recent history.
Now, Georgia, as we're listening to this, there are pathways that so many people have taken that has yielded them returns and wealth. But the inequality that we see in this country in the middle of a pandemic, while essential workers are being, quite honestly, we've abandoned essential workers. We gave them this magnificent title and we acknowledged all the work that they're doing during the pandemic. But I want us to really just kind of consider and juxtapose the fact that most essential workers had to fight like hell to get $1 more in hazard pay throughout this entire pandemic, while the top 1%, did you see that number? $6.5 trillion in wealth created for the wealthiest in this country during the pandemic. And so we're really looking at something that is the best of times for the wealthy and the worst of times for the rest of us.
Yeah, and I think that the pandemic, while a lot of people did struggle and a lot of people ended up losing their homes, having their cars repossessed. Meanwhile, you did have the wealthiest who were not only able to sustain throughout the pandemic and the government shutdowns, but here we see that they use this as an opportunity to get even further ahead, to make that wealth gap even wider.
That's right.
And so, I'm not surprised, Ben, because I feel like we talk about greed and capitalism a lot and where they intersect. But every time I have this conversation about wealth in America, I can't help but think about Tulsa and
Mm,
how there was 40 blocks of black wealth, millions of dollars of generational wealth that was destroyed
that's right.
because of one accusation that a white woman made against a black man.
Mm,
And so
mm.
this is why, as we have these conversations about economic justice, it's so important to look at the idea of reparations not
Mm,
just being an idea, but actually being something that we implement in this
that's
country.
right. That's right.
And I've heard conversations not just for descendants of slaves, but also the indigenous community.
Mm,
So, a dollar raise for essential workers, cool. But what would really be equitable if these corporations would actually give their frontline workers equity
that's right.
in their company, give them stock, allow them to have some vested interest and a chance at actually being able to retire at some point.
That's right. That's right. But unfortunately, Georgia, the system is built off of grinding us into dust, into a pulp. I was passing through Walmart this morning and grabbing a couple of things just to get the day started. And I saw the same thing that you will see in any Walmart across this country. Early in the morning, you're going to see older people who should be retired, who are out there grinding themselves to a pulp to make sure that those aisles are nicely stocked in the middle of a pandemic. And the only difference is that I'm in Florida right now, and the majority of the people that I saw were white, probably Donald Trump supporters. But in Atlanta, the same people are black. The,
Yeah.
the point is that without a system that is not inherently built on the greed of the system, you're never going to have that incentive to actually help everyone get access to this obscene amount of wealth that is being created in front of us. But instead, all we really get, Georgia, if you think about it, at the end of the day, we don't get investments, we don't get access to this wealth. What we get are pictures for the Vine, or rather for Instagram.
Mm. It just to look at those statistics, the top 10% now owns 89% of all stocks. What's going through the minds? I imagine that what goes through the minds of a person who already owns so much stock, and
Mm,
they just keep buying and they keep buying and they keep buying. That level of greed, um it is an illness, because when you
mm,
have more than what you need, and not just to the point where we're talking a 4-car garage home, but you
right,
have an
right.
abundance of resources, so much so that it is creating um a situation for others
Mm,
where they
mm,
can't have enough.
right, right.
That
Mm.
level of greed, there's something seriously wrong with that.
There's a saying that it's not that we don't have the ability to feed the poor. Um, it's that we don't have the ability to satisfy the greed of
Yeah.
the wealthy. And at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. And I'm glad you make that distinction, because I think the way this situation continues is that you have a lot of people who are, I would say, mid-tier wealthy, right? They're making money on Wall Street. They're making money in their day trading. They're making money in their investments, and they get a little ambivalent about this conversation, because they understand the struggle, they understand the fight, but they also understand that they have to make their investments right. They have to take care of their own personal wealth. But I'm glad you made that distinction, Georgia, because it's like, if you got a fork, if you are going out and giving this system your labor, I don't care how much you're making. If you're giving this system your labor, then you have solidarity with the rest of us. You really need to understand that the fact that this system has so many of your neighbors and your cousins and your aunties and them in the situation that they're in, that's why so many people have to go to those few of us in the Black community who actually get a foot out of poverty, right? It's a self-sustaining system. And I just appreciate you drawing that distinction, that even if you have a 4-car garage, you're still in this fight with us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And in Minnesota, we talk about this a lot because there are dozens of Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered here, like
Mm,
Target, Best Buy, Wells Fargo, General Mills. There's so many. And within these corporations, you have all of these employees who are working at different levels. But the higher up you get to the C suite, the less and less you see people who look like us,
Mm,
even the
mm,
less you see women.
mm,
And so when you know that there are dozens of Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered here, and then you pair that side by side to the statistic that only 17% of Black people actually own their homes,
mm,
there's something
mm,
wrong with
mm,
that. If you're working 40 hours a week, let's say for 10 years, for a million or $1 billion company, there's
mm.
absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to own a home.
Right, right. And to be quite honest with you, most of these corporations, their rounding errors are sufficient enough to make sure their employees can live well. We're talking about obscene levels of wealth. You have Elon Musk approaching $200 billion. He's poised to become the first trillionaire. So we're really talking about a system that's designed to do exactly what it's doing. And you tied it earlier to Tulsa. Let's be sure one of the reasons Black people are systemically left out of this is because this country systemically made sure that anytime we got a little bit of wealth, they snatched it away, whether it be by bombing us out of existence in Tulsa or by redlining, ensuring that we did not have the capacity to get any ownership of property and land and housing. And that's why you have that abysmal statistic that you just gave, 17%. The conditions are really, really, well, I digress. I do want to bring up one other story, Georgia, before we move on. And it is a story coming out of the protests, the ongoing and the continued protests that we see around this country on behalf of voting rights. Because in the backdrop of what we see, this wealth inequality that's running amok, right? We are also faced with the fact that we're dealing with a political system that does not even want to protect our voting rights. And we have seen protesters go to the White House and make it clear to President Biden that something has to be done. And that's inclusive of Ben Jealous of the NAACP, or formerly of the NAACP. And he's in this clip. Let's take a look at this clip of the protest that took place.
We are here to safeguard our democracy from authoritarianism.
But we're here to let Joe Biden know, Joe Biden, this is also your third war. We're not going to be taken for granted. We didn't elect Joe Manchin to be the president. We didn't elect the senator to be the vice president. And this filibuster. People don't understand, the average voter does not understand how one individual can deny our right to vote. End this filibuster today. This is existential. All we fought for will be lost if these voter suppression laws stand.
Let us be clear, Vice President Kamala Harris, President of the Senate, and Chuck Schumer, the majority leader, have done their job. They have consensus, they have the 51 votes, they have enough to pass. And in America, majorities should matter.
Yeah.
Now, the additional voice that you heard there was Reverend Mark Thompson, and he was participating in the Brooklyn protest that just happened this past weekend. This is a movement that is going around the country fighting on behalf of the voting rights of all Americans, but specifically Black Americans, because Georgia, as you've covered and I've covered several times, the voter suppression laws that are running across this country, they are specifically targeting Black communities, because they understand the percentage of the clip at which Black people vote for the Democratic Party. And they understand if they can neutralize the Black vote, that they can neutralize the Democratic Party. But here's the gag. The gag is the Democrats have the majority in the House, the Senate, and the White House. And so what is holding them up? It's the filibuster and people like Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, who are also Democrats.
Ben, the glaring example that I had for just how real this issue is, I went to DC for the March on Washington this year and last year. But when I went last year and Trump was still in office, I was driving to the Capitol, and I look over and there's a mailbox and it had a lock on it. They were locking mailboxes
Yeah.
in predominantly Black neighborhoods to make it even more difficult for you to mail in your ballot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so there are so many tactics and so many different strategies that are being deployed to suppress Black votes,
That's right.
to suppress the votes of people in communities of color. And they don't care if it comes at the expense of some elderly people
Oh
or
yeah.
other folks who are a part of other marginalized communities. They really don't care. At the
That's
end
right.
of the day, as long as the Republicans can get out and cast their ballots, that's the biggest thing that they care about. But what doesn't make sense to me is if you have a voting system that is so broken
Mm.
that you have to put all of these measures to, tighten up and make it better. How did you get elected? On what premise were
Exactly.
you elected?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the great question, because it always seems to be convenient. It's mighty convenient, isn't it, that there's a problem whenever their opponent wins, but there's never some problem with the voting system when they win, right? They want us to question the validity of everything except their elections. That said, news coverage this morning suggests that the vote on voting rights will be blocked by the GOP filibuster again, and will put pressure on Manchin to at least reform it away, or do something, get rid of it, because now we're here. This is it. This is the ball game. And what I mean by that is, if we cannot secure the vote in the face of a full-on revolution that's coming from conservatism, I want to be sure, like the stuff that we've been able to cover from the streets, and this clip right here is from ACT TV. These are protests that are happening all around the country. Shout out to Black Voters Matter, Cliff Albright and the team there. They're all around the country trying to make sure that everyone understands the score. Georgia, right now, conservatives and these far right-wing extremists, they are violent. They are in the streets. They have control over our courts. They have control over our state legislatures. They have so much control over so many of the gubernatorial houses, the governor's mansions across the country. Conservatives are playing for keeps. And if we are at the point where the Democratic Party cannot simply protect the right to vote, then what are we doing with this democracy?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the foundation of our country. And what truly saddens me is the fact that you have John Lewis, who
Mm,
dedicated his entire career to ensuring that our right to vote was protected.
that's right.
And to see that they are totally unraveling every single thing that he stood for, and that our country is backsliding on the little bit of equity that we have fought for, that our ancestors have fought for.
Mm,
It's sad. It is truly sad. It reminds me of when Obama
mm,
when he implemented Obamacare, and it was like the day he was out of office, do
yes,
away with it.
that's right.
And so it's hard enough for our people to get elected into these positions, but when they are elected and they do things that will create more equitable circumstances for
Mm-hmm,
us, the
mm-hmm,
moment they leave that position, we this is something we continuously see.
that's
Their
right.
legacy is unraveled. And so how can we be effective? How can we close these disparities? And not only the disparities in voting, but as we talked about earlier, the disparities in wealth.
That's
How
right.
can we
That's
do
right.
that if every single time we get an inch, they take a mile?
That's right. That's right. And here's the thing I want to just kind of juxtapose here is what we are actually getting, right? Because let's be sure, you could not control this many people. Let's just talk about the United States of America, 330 million people. You could not control them underneath these kind of conditions that we have just outlined today, right? The fact that, well, we can't even protect the right to vote on one hand, and on the other hand, you have this obscene income inequality, wealth inequality, this wealth gap that is absurd, and it's glaring. I mean, can you imagine what the essential worker has to feel like at 5 o'clock in the morning, filling the aisles at Walmart and Publix? Meanwhile, the owners are sitting somewhere safely in Cancun, vacationing on their yachts. There's a level of absurdity that is unsustainable. But here's how they pull it off, Georgia. They pull it off because, well, we've got social media, we've got entertainment, we've got movies, we got all these things to entertain us and keep us busy and occupied in between the time that we go to work and slave on behalf of these corporate overlords.
You know, at some point, I remember there was a withdrawal of black dollars
Mm,
as a means to get progress. It
mhm,
happened, I believe, after the Montgomery bus boycott. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Louis Farrakhan calling out for Black people to withdraw their money from the economy at another point. And so when you think about the power of Black economics, even though we have this disparity, we are dependent upon being consumers. They
that's right.
depend on us to consume,
That's right.
consume, consume. And without that level of consumption, this system doesn't work. Without that level of consumption, they
That's right.
can't sit on their beaches in Cancun. And
Mm,
so I think sometimes, you know, when we look at these issues, it feels like there's no hope. There's
mhm.
no hope for us to ever catch up when 10% own 90% basically of the stock market. And those statistics reflect in other aspects of the economy as well, right? But sometimes it's not about having so much money. It's not about how can I get more money, more money, more money. Sometimes it's about how you spend and
Mm,
being smart about how you spend and the collective power that we have together. And so I try to think solutions oriented because it's the only way that you can maintain hope when you're looking at all of these negative statistics and, you know, just the different things that we're going through in our country. And so, I mean, at some point, Ben, I know you've kind of joked around about organizing and calling people together, but at some point there has to
joking.
be a shift.
That's right. That's right. Because I mean, I'm joking about saying that I was joking, but listen, seriously, like I'm going to be honest with you. Um, the people can only take so much, Georgia, because let's be sure there's a level of there's a certain level of privilege that even I have, right? And that you and I share in the ability to navigate our situation from home during the pandemic. There's a whole class of people who have been able to make their living from home in the pandemic, and I mean, eternally grateful for it. But on the other side of that equation is the essential worker and those people who have been just pushed out into the storm because of the exact thing that you said, Georgia. The people got to consume. If we don't consume, this system doesn't work. And this is why you're seeing people like Ron DeSantis. You're seeing Greg Abbott in Texas. You're seeing Tate over in Mississippi, and you're seeing you're seeing all of these governors enact policies that are the height of absurdity. When history reflects on this moment, we're going to see just how completely and utter it's a comedy of Shakespearean levels what they're doing, and it's all to make sure that as many people as possible go out and consume because
Yeah.
people got to make their money.
Yeah. Well, and as you were talking, it made me think too about this term I've been hearing a lot lately, the great resignation,
Mm,
where you're seeing thousands of people leave their jobs without really having anything lined up because they don't want to have to make those decisions of
mhm,
putting themselves in harm's way, you know, exposing themselves to COVID, or if they live with someone who has, you know, a high risk, bad immune system, you know,
mm.
they don't want to jeopardize their health, or they just don't want to go back to bad working conditions.
That's
They
right.
don't
That's
want
right.
to continue to trade their time for $10 or $15 an hour, which
That's
isn't a
right.
livable wage. And so, you know, as we think about the collective power of not consuming and how that impacts these huge corporations. The other side of that is what are these corporations without their lower level employees?
Nothing.
And so if people stop showing up to work,
That's
if
right.
people stop coming in to do the job, how does the system work? And so I think it will be interesting in the next year or so to see how this plays out. But I see hiring signs everywhere I go, and they just can't fill the positions fast enough because people don't want to work these jobs anymore. They're tired
That's
of
right.
trading their life.
For
And
their
in
profits.
return, they're not getting stock. They're not getting equity. They're not getting a livable wage. No,
right.
they're putting their life at risk in the middle of a pandemic. And in some places that don't even have, a grievance policy, they can't even take time off of work if someone in their family dies.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
these inhumane conditions, these inhumane working environments that people have had to subject themselves, they're tired of it. They're pulling themselves out of the matrix and saying that there's got to be a better way. And eventually this is going to catch up to these corporations.
Right. Right. And again, I don't want to come full circle with this because these two stories this morning are inextricably linked. One of the reasons we're not going to see a lot of action getting rid of the filibuster is because it is a institution that is most convenient for the purposes of ensuring that this government never really does something for the people, right? Meanwhile, on the other side of the ledger, we have the corporations, the various industrial complexes, the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, lined up to drain every dollar out of the coffer of this empire. And this is how we get the exact scenario. So if they got rid of the filibuster, Georgia, then all of a sudden they no longer have an excuse for not doing anything for the people. And so the fact that we are in a situation where our voting rights are now at risk, and the Democratic Party, who is ostensibly the party of the people, I'd argue with them about that one. They're not doing what's necessary to secure that vote. You know why? Because if they got rid of the filibuster, then they're going to have to answer questions to the people as to why the rich have gotten richer and the essential workers have died during this pandemic.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, then listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We start talking about this stuff. You're right. We joke a lot about the organizing, but behind the scenes, we are organizing. And coming up in the next segment during the Benjamin Dixon Show, we're going to be covering some of the absurdity that we're seeing around not only the pandemic as the situation gets worse, Georgia. The situation gets worse because the propaganda around it is getting more intense. So we're going to be looking at some of the propaganda techniques coming from evangelicals and from Fox News. And we're going to be covering it dead, like straight to the point, because we're at a critical situation at this juncture. So if you can, I would love for you to stick around for the next segment and help me sort through some of these things.
Absolutely. So keep it here for that and more on the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Swipe. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Swerving, making plays, cool Ferrari red. Never out my zone, touchdown in my hands. Only fam around me, I can't have no friends. Had to cut you off, you left me out for dead. Ever since I was a teen, had prices on my head. Had to cut you off, you left me out for dead. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Yeah, I'm the running man.
Don't feel right.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
21. I am joined by the dopest independent journalist in the game, Georgia Fort. How you doing, sis?
I'm good. And thank you.
No, our pleasure. Most of the time, I think this might be one of the few times you've set in on the BPD segment, and
Yeah.
I try to make sure each segment has its own feel and its own flavor. So this might be a little different, but I know that you're equal to the task because, well, you're Georgia Fort, and I'm glad to have you on this network with us. That said, let's jump right in. I want to start with the absurd, David, before we get to the good. I want to start with Sebastian Gorka. Sebastian Gorka is a former consort of, well, rather the more precise word would be consultant for Donald Trump and an advisor. And he's someone who is in the same orbit as Steve Bannon. We cover Steve Bannon pretty regularly here because of the role that he is playing in the global fascist movement. Sebastian Gorka is right there next to Steve Bannon and Donald Trump. That said, they decided to go just full homophobic. And in this case, it's over Pete Buttigieg. We covered that story of him adopting, he and his partner his husband adopting twins. And now this has become the topic of fodder for the Republicans. And here is Sebastian Gorka attacking, well, let's take a listen in.
It would be fun because if they set that precedent, then we can do it with all of the documents regarding Obama, the Iran deal, Biden, and his actual encouragement of using the Logan Act to frame Mike Flynn. So whichever way you cut it, either Donald Trump destroys them, or we get all the weapons we need to uncover the real corruption, the real dirt of all these Democrat administrations that have sold America, to our enemies for decades now. But look, it's very simple. What else have they got, Grant? What else are you going to talk about as you approach the midterms? It's like the distractions of the last two impeachments. When the border is open, when the economy is tanking, when Buttigieg is on quote-unquote paternity leave. I thought, how do you have paternity when you don't actually have the child, okay? Adopting it. How does that get you paternity leave? And by the way, can conservatives stop calling it his husband, okay? It's not his husband. In Western civilization, men can't have husbands, okay? We have a little bit of accuracy in our use of language. So whether it's 100 supercargo ships off the coast of LA, whether it's the retreat from Afghanistan, Kabul under the control of the Taliban, this is the track record of the Democrats in just 10 months. So what are they going to do? Look at this shiny object over here. Look at our quote-unquote insurrection.
Now, Georgia, that there was a lot in that clip. It's full of ignorance and it's a lot. But look at how he tied geopolitics, like on the global stage, to Pete Buttigieg and his husband adopting. And then to the paternity leave. Isn't it funny how all of these things, all of these bigotries seamlessly overlap?
Yeah. There's so much to unpack here. Starting with the fact that you're saying in Western civilization, he can't have a husband. No, actually, if you look at our laws, you can.
Mm,
Okay. This is something that has already been passed into legislation. And so, when I'm hearing from people who are on the far right, they sound delusional. They
mm,
sound delusional because what we see over and over and over again is them denying the facts of where we are as a country, them denying the election, them denying our legislation, them trying to deny us our voting rights. And so
that's
they
right.
sound delusional, they sound ignorant. But hate is hate. Hate is hate. And so I'm not surprised that there is this attack on people uh, who are from the LGBTQ community.
Mm,
But what saddens me is the fact that you're mocking these parents, and you are thinking that you have enough power and control to deny someone paternity leave.
that's right.
If you have enough kindness and love in your heart to take children in and raise them as your own with love and care, and I know that's not always the case for adopted kids, but
That's
there
right.
are some families out there who are doing an excellent job after adopting children. And yes, they should be granted time off to bond with their child, to settle into the transition of becoming a parent.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, again, going back to these corporations, Ben, we compromise and sacrifice so much of our lives for our employment. But when it's said and done and we're in our hospital bed, our employers are not going to be there with us. Our children are. And
That's
so
right.
why shouldn't parents, whether they're from the LGBTQ community, whether they've given natural birth or whether they've adopted, why shouldn't they be given this time off? There's some employers who are giving pet leave when you buy a new pet. You get time off to bond with the pet. You get a
I'm
pet
sorry.
leave.
I don't
Come
mean to laugh
on.
so I don't mean to laugh so hysterically, but we always do come down to whether or not who's going to get treated better in this world, black people or pets. But I digress. Um, because I don't know this is not about black people per se, but it's like it's so many intersections here, Georgia, and the absurdity of a group of people who like to forward themselves as being pro-life, being opposed to one gay couples, LGBTQ couples adopting in the first place. Because you have to understand, it took years. Yeah, obviously you've been covering it and reporting it, so as well. But years just getting this country comfortable with the fact that there are gay couples who want to raise children and adopt them. There have been people who would rather see children languish in foster care and group homes rather than to see them be adopted by an LGBTQ couple. And so how are these people who claim to be so in favor of the life of children so willing to abandon them the moment they're born?
Mm, yeah.
Mm,
That's a huge contradiction. People who don't want women to get an abortion. Yet then, if you decide to have the baby and put the baby up for adoption, don't want the baby to be adopted into a stable home
that's right.
with
That's
two
right.
loving parents. Yeah,
That's right.
there's so many contradictions, Ben. And it's just I feel like a lot of it is just it's rooted in hatred. And there's a large portion of people in our community, in our country, that they just hate anything that is different than them.
That's right. That's
And
right.
it's ignorant. It's
Yeah.
absolutely ignorant.
And not only just they hate those things that are different, those people that are different than them. They what, Georgia, there's a deeply rooted hatred towards anything that they cannot control. Anything that is outside of their ability to have their pleasure out of their power over that person. And I think if you put what you just said right next to that, I think we have the basis for all the bigotries that we have to fight against. It's either just outright hatred for the person or disdain because you can't control that person, that woman's body. You can't dictate to them their sexuality. You can't dictate to them their identity. You can't control them. Therefore, they hate them. And it goes. It's the Venn diagram around these things are so amazing. I want to go to one other story real quick because now here's Tucker Carlson. And we're going to see the overlap between this ignorance and COVID-19. And we see how this propaganda machine that is Fox News, that is Tucker Carlson, has been brought to bear to kill as many people as possible from this pandemic. And they did not miss the opportunity to use the death of Colin Powell as a chance to further their agenda to infect as many people as possible. Let's take a listen to Tucker Carlson on Fox News.
Like almost everyone his age, Colin Powell was fully vaccinated against COVID. And yet, according to his family and doctors, Colin Powell died of COVID. Of course, that fact does not make his death any less sad, nor is it unusual. Many thousands of vaccinated Americans have died of COVID. Former CDC Director Robert Redfield announced just today that about 40% of all recent COVID deaths in the state of Maryland, for example, are among those who have had both shots. So what does that tell you exactly? Well, it tells you you've been lied to. Vaccines may be highly useful for some people, but across a population, they do not solve COVID. That's not speculation. It is an observable fact. People who've been fully vaccinated can still get the virus, they can still transmit the virus to others, and they can still die from COVID. Colin Powell is hardly the only example of that. So the question is, why are they telling us otherwise? And the answer is simple. They're telling us that to divide us from each other, to set the country against itself.
Georgia, I yield the floor because I can't. I can't with this guy.
Okay. So we know the science of this vaccination, and we know that, yes, it's still like those things have been proven by science. But what he didn't say that has also been proven by science is that the chance that you would contract COVID and die from it or have any serious illness after you've been vaccinated the numbers are very, very small. I mean, and so when you look at someone like Powell, he had other underlying conditions.
That's right.
On top of the fact that he was elderly. So he died from complications resulting from those other health conditions. But we have seen this kind of manipulation the entire pandemic. And I mean, I think of like the right leaning radio host who spoke so much out against getting the vaccine and about this virus. And then he ended up dying from it.
That's right.
You know, of people who try to minimize COVID-19 like it is just the flu or it's just like getting a cold. But it's not, clearly. And how dare he? At the end of the day, Tucker Carlson, he's not half the man as Colin Powell. And so it bothers me even to just hear him speaking on a man with such excellence and integrity and such a huge legacy of real leadership in this country.
I have also there's you would think that this would be someone, Colin Powell, that they would Republicans would stand behind because he was a Republican. Not that changes anything about his but he was also intricate in the Iraq War. And so, a lot of people made a lot of money off of that. You would think Republicans would stand behind him on this one, but they don't, because I have another clip. There's nobody that they won't sacrifice on the altar of their propaganda, because here's a clip of right-wing anti-vax pastor Shane Vaughn suggesting that Colin Powell should have been advised to not get vaccinated if he was immunocompromised. I want you to listen to this spin, Georgia. They're saying that he should not have been vaccinated because he was immunocompromised, and that Colin Powell was killed by the very government that he served. Let's take a listen to this absurdity.
Killed Colin Powell, a decorated general of our government, was not killed by cancer. He survived it. He was in fact killed by the very government that he served. Today, Colin Powell died from not COVID-19, but from the vaccine that destroyed his immunity system, making him unable to fight off COVID-19. After his death today, the mainstream media wanted to make it abundantly clear that he had cancer is the reason the vaccine did not work. If that's the case, then we have a major problem. Because when he went to get this vaccine, and they knew that this could be detrimental to his health, they knew that he was already immune, whatever they call it, his immunity was messed up. Why did they let him take that vaccine? Because now they're using the argument, well, we should have known it wasn't going to work. He had those pre-existing conditions and his immunity system was already down. So was that told to him? If not, then who really killed Colin Powell? The truth is, if he had not taken the vaccine, he would be alive today.
Georgia Fort, this is where we are. And this is what is allowed. This is what the algorithm gives priority to, I have to say, right? This right wing kind of conspiracy theory, anti-vax stuff. It's growing in abundance, and it's not growing in abundance just because the people believe it. It's because they're making money off of saying this stuff, right? Shane Vaughn, he makes money off of saying this. Tucker Carlson makes even more money off of saying this. And just listen to, setting Colin Powell aside for a second, just listen to how they twist the truth and make it seem effortlessly, seamlessly, that the problem is the vaccine versus the problem being morons who won't wear a mask spreading COVID-19. And yes, he's 84 years old, had cancer. Chances are he wasn't going to survive it, but he took the vaccine to give him a fighting chance. And someone not wearing a mask brought COVID-19 to him anyway. So these people have lost all sense of reason.
Yeah. And reality. They've lost all sense of reason and reality. We are at a polarizing point in our country because, these types of thoughts and opinions now are not just amongst, a person's friend group or are not only just shared with the people who a person can call on their phone, but now you can upload this propaganda on the internet and share it across the entire globe. And there is no regulation. And I know that you start getting in muddy water when you start talking about filtering people's voices and opinions. And, some of this stuff is protected under freedom of the speech. But we were in a much more honest place as a country in terms of what was truth and facts when the FCC was overseeing any mass communications that was happening. And at 50 years ago, that was primarily radio and television. And there was just things you couldn't say. And those regulations have been scaled back. I love the Breakfast Club, but when you listen, they're using all kinds of profanity. And but 50 years ago, that was not allowed by the FCC. And so when you look at online communications that are happening, worldwide communications that are happening over the internet, there's no regulations unless it violates community standards.
That's right.
And for some reason, lies, for the most part, don't violate community standards. However, let's be clear, if you're advocating for the liberation of Black people,
come on.
If you're advocating for the value of life for Black people, you will be filtered. You'll be censored. You'll be shadow banned. You'll be suppressed in the algorithm. But if you're a white face and you're spreading this kind of propaganda, they'll make money on it. They'll allow you to rank top in the algorithm. And so, at some point, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, all of them.
All of them.
They have to do some serious soul searching as corporations about how they're going to deal with misinformation. What kind of regulations are going to be put in place? Because we've seen whistleblowers recently on the Facebook side who have come forth and said that they see it and they know what's happening and they're not addressing it because they're able to make money off of it.
And as you mentioned Facebook, I was thinking this morning, I didn't get a chance to dig into it because I saw on my feed that Facebook is going to rebrand now. They're going to change their name and just become this whole new creation, along the lines of Google changing their name, I believe, to ABC. And I think it's because instead of understanding the role that they could play positively in society, they just figured, let's just rebrand. And maybe people will forget. Give us a generation and people will forget that it was Facebook that was culpable with the decline of civilization because they prioritize an algorithm that, well, gives us Steve Vaughn or whatever his guy name is. Yeah, Shane Vaughn, that prioritizes that. And then just as a point of evidence, Georgia, we're going to be bringing back on a guest onto our show, Brother Lynn, I believe is his last name. And he has been doing some research into our channel. And he has the evidence. I believe it's like 75% of our videos are demonetized because we cover Black Lives Matter, because we speak out of truth to power, because we are fighting for liberation. And yet, you know, the people who are getting folks killed from COVID-19, they're able to grow and prosper on these algorithms.
And so the question becomes how much of what we're consuming that's being presented as news is really entertainment. You know, I think I came into broadcasting at a time when Wendy Williams was still on the radio in New York. And how she was able to transition from radio into TV is because she was what we called back then a shock jock. And that same principle and concept for audience growth and audience engagement of being a shock jock and having that shock value, right, to your production, we're seeing that now transcend outside of just the radio industry. We're seeing that trend outside of radio personalities. And now this is what we're getting from our news personalities. And let's be clear, Tucker Carlson is not a news reporter. He's not a news anchor. He's not a news journalist. He's not a journalist at all. He's a news personality or a TV personality for that matter. And so although they're packaging these news shows up as though they're news and information, it's really entertainment. You are jumping on whatever is trending and you're saying the most absurd thing that's going to provide the biggest shock value.
That's right.
So that you can get engagement from your audience, whether it's good or whether it's bad, whether it erodes the integrity in our country. You don't care. You just want the numbers. You're doing it for the views and for the clicks.
That's right.
And so we have very few real news organizations left. Most of them, although they still call themselves news organizations, most of them are entertainment.
That's it. That's exactly right. And even in the lawsuit that was waged against Fox News, they made that claim. They said, we're not news, we're entertainment. And they have no problem labeling themselves as news. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, anyone of good faith can understand that what's sitting atop a propaganda mountain in this country is Fox News, Tucker Carlson, and all the subsidiaries, all the little wannabe Tucker Carlsons, all the little fake wannabe, you know, Jimmy Swaggarts or whatever. I don't know who the evangelical pastor is of the day. You know, all these little fake Joel Osteens down here who are trying to present themselves with the most shocking thing that they could possibly say so that they can get attention.
I hope we move to a place where like the FCC requires them to put some type of like warning on their lower third that shows all the time. Remember when cigarettes, they didn't used to have like that surgeon
Yeah.
And then there was all of this research that was done that proved that it was cancerous and it could ultimately lead to your death. And now every package of cigarettes has that warning on there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some mental health professionals to do some real research on what happens after you consume Fox News for an extended period of time. What does that do to your mental health? And I think that we should put a warning. And the FCC, I mean, that is misleading. That is false advertisement to call yourself Fox News when you're legitimately doing entertainment.
Yeah.
It's
No.
extremely misleading.
Yeah.
And harmful.
Absolutely. You know what? A couple one more clip that I want to get you in on before we get out of here, Georgia, because there's just so much. I want to play this clip of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. And this is, I want to dovetail this with what we covered during On the Clock, especially as it pertains to voting rights. You know, when he was asked about January 6th, Mitch McConnell is very good at doing something. He lets you know exactly what his strategy is going to be. Republicans are ready for 2022. They are ready to take back the House. They're ready to take back the Senate, and they're ready for 2024. They're ready to take back the White House. I want us to listen to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell as he deflects away from the question about January 6th and lets us know about his agenda for 2022, which he believes is going to be a referendum on the current administration, which shows you Mitch McConnell and Republicans have a vested interest in destroying every part of Joe Biden's agenda and everything that could be possibly good for us. Let's take a listen into that clip.
Hosted former President Trump at a donor retreat. He was also at Iowa for a rally where Chuck Grassley embraced his endorsement. Are you concerned at all, comfortable with your party embracing the former president, whom you said was morally responsible for the January 6th attack?
Well, I do think we need to be talking about the future and not the past. I think the American people are focusing on this administration, what it's doing to the country, and it's my hope that the 22 election will be a referendum on the performance of the current administration, not a rehash of suggestions about what may have happened in 2020.
So there you have it. You know, they're trying to distance themselves not only from January 6th, but also from Donald Trump, obviously. And they understand that if they can just keep Joe Biden from getting anything done. But then I also look at the fact that, well, Joe Biden is doing a pretty good job of that himself by not putting Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema in check. So at the end of the day, Georgia, it looks like as we come around to 2022, Democrats are preparing themselves for a major shellacking, and Mitch McConnell is ready to give it to them.
You know, I can't help but laugh when you talk about Joe Biden not getting much done. And he didn't need Trump to do that, right? But we elected him into that position. And at some point, we have to figure out how to leverage our own political power, because in our community, there's a lot that we need to get done. And so whether it's him putting the Republicans who are using the filibuster as a way, as a decoy, a distraction, a diversion, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Ben, I just I could continuously see these politicians fighting over power and not fighting over the real issues that the people who elected them in office care about.
That's right.
And that's what concerns me. It's just like it's this back and forth fight between parties. There's no bipartisanship. And that's when you look at Colin Powell and you look at the integrity of his legacy. Yes, he was a Republican, but he didn't care about whether or not he was working with other Republicans or Democrats. He exemplified true bipartisanship, you know, with centering the concerns of the people and the needs of the people at the forefront of his work and what he was doing.
George, you go.
We have more politicians in these positions who are worried about keeping power, keeping control, getting Republicans in. But then why aren't we talking about the issues that are affecting the people who got you elected into these positions in the first place?
That's you know what, Georgia, I also laugh. I was laughing even as I was saying the phrase, Mitch McConnell blocking Joe Biden from getting something done. As I was saying that, I'm like, that's not exactly correct, because we got the majorities. The problem is that we have a relic of an institution called the filibuster that is a convenient excuse for Joe Biden. I'm sorry. It is. Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, they're convenient foils for the Democratic Party to be able to say, oh, we couldn't possibly do another thing for the people because the filibuster is in the way. And I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, when the American people say, do whatever the hell you want to with this government because y'all not doing anything for us anyway, then the Democratic Party has nothing to blame, no one to blame but themselves when they are out of power in 2022.
That's right. That's right.
Georgia, thanks so much for hanging out with me for this segment. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing on the clock and in your independent journalism.
And the feeling is mutual, Ben.
Awesome. Awesome. Coming up next, like it or not, David, take us to a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
I'll still think about it. We can take my Lambo. I'll put on a tight show. You sure you can handle? We be faster than Django. Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Shout out B, Chuck Diesel. Good morning. Brother Lateef, Esther, good morning. Shout out Tiger, good morning, good morning. It's regular coffee this morning. It's got up early. That's all it is. And water. Lily, good morning. Shoot the Dragon, good morning.
Why you so salty? You sure you can handle? Okay. We can take my Lambo. I'll put on a tight show. Okay. You sure you can handle? We be faster than Django.
D-Will, good morning. One Source Productions. Alicia, good morning, sister. Hello, Hal, good morning.
Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop.
Not the name WTFN. That's funny. Anna Hart, good morning. Brenda Johnson, good morning, y'all. Good morning, everybody. Evergreen, Hollywood, 2008. Good morning. Susan Family, Brother Goku, what's going on? Good morning, everybody. Shout out Roller Dragon, what's going on?
What's next?
Yeah, Hustler, good morning. Mike Al, good morning, sir. Christopher Shaw, Absolutov, good morning. That was Magnetism. Can't Stop, Won't Stop by Magnetism. Y'all stay tuned, man. We got one coming up next.
My world has come together, and maybe I just want to let it shine.
Infinite Content, what's going on, brother? Matt Connor Lyons, good morning from Alaska. Shout out to Alaska in the building this morning.
Stepping on next. Little daddy, cashing big checks. I bought the whole block out, now that's a big flex. Peeping out my Uber window, like what's next? Got new levels and new devils out the wazoo. Ain't no worries, life gets better when you find you. And if you mind you, peace will abide and hide you until it's time to start anew. So live it up, we grown, ain't got no curfew. Who brought the bad vibes? Tell that bitch move. Walking all in my ear, now that's a bitch move. Pressed that I arrive, mad that I survive. All your sad attempts to send me to the sky. But I've been in the wind, been had wings, I was always this fly. Oh yes, and that's probably why you're mad. Don't let Evie turn you into a trash bag. So get glad, find out why you sad. All that jealousy, you should subside. I think it's time to turn that mirror on you. Put it up close for a clear view. And look deep down inside. And soon you will find a pretty soul that needs more shine. My world has come to
I don't know if I say shout out Infinite Content. What's going on, Infinite Content?
There is no good or better. I think tonight I'm gonna make it mine. 1, 2, mean right hook. Coming Come and test me, my mom beat will have you shook.
Non-fiction, thank you for your super chat.
No need for speed, but keep your foot up on the
Thank you
gas
so
pedal.
much.
Ain't worry about having a golden
Non-fiction
award.
says just
God
supporting.
made me to be an ice cold medal. Why are you always pressed about my life? Talking with your frenemies about me, saying, ooh, girl, have you seen it like the shine lights? You tried, but you could never dim my light. Please know I'm a touchable girl. I'll slip through your fingers like a real fly kite. Why you wanna turn a good day into fight night? Constantly projecting all the negativity. Take that bad energy and go and get your mind right. Say a prayer tonight to keep your soul tight. You in the big world of danger, cause you dwell in that drama. I put the work in, now I got them big bags that you call Birkins.
The girl said, now I got the big bags that you call Birkins.
And maybe I just wanna let it shine.
Shelby Hall, Courtney the SLP, good morning, happy Tuesday. Everybody, where it's cold at for you, this is for you. Make sure you get your coat. Your blanket. Coming up next. Y'all stay tuned.
Every day is just the beginning. Take it to the bank, now I'm winning. Oh. Call me crazy, tell me lies. It won't stop me, watch me rise. No more anchors holding me down. All I need is more. One more hour, one more minute. One more chance for me to win.
Good morning, Mom and Daddy. Give me a little win and say nothing to me. Yeah, and I know some anyway, good morning, Mom and Daddy. I know you out there somewhere watching this song. Good morning to you if y'all not sleeping.
Every mountain, keep both eyes on the top, and nothing's gonna tell me to stop. Oh, push me through the fire. All I'm gonna feel is the heat burning underneath of my feet. Tell me lies, it won't stop me, watch me rise. No more anchors holding me down. All I need is more. One more hour, one more minute. One more chance for me to win it. Every time I try, I catch it. I know how to make it happen.
Oh, y'all, I forgot to tell y'all. Good morning, Mama. I wish she popped in there and said something. Hey, y'all, I told my doctor I heard a little buzzing. But she said it's just the bug going that's going around, so it's okay.
All I need is more.
And for Halloween, a witch's vehicle goes broom, broom.
It's all I need, it's all I need is more. All I need is all I need.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
It's just not the same unless somebody says, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. I'm Ben Dixon. Been here all day, and I'm joined by my brother from another mother, brother Pascal from the Pascal Show. Bro, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm living, man. How you doing, man?
But I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you coming over here and blessing us with your presence this morning. And because you're over there with that show, man. I came over there one day. You had like 10,000 people watching you, man. What's going on over there?
Honestly, I've been covering this whole thing with missing person cases that have been going off recently, and for some weird reason, everybody's really into that stuff right now. I don't know. I'm not complaining about it because it's bringing new ears, new eyes to the channel. And I'm also able to slip in there some other messages in there as well. So
That's right, man. I dig it.
Just having some fun with it. And like I said,
Yeah.
like we've had conversations about it before. It's like giving them vegetables, but wrapping it in junk food. You feel
That's
me?
right. That's
So
right.
that's basically what I've been trying to do.
I need somebody to do that in real life. Can somebody take some, some healthy food and wrap it in some French fries? That would be wonderful.
Man, I thought you on that keto, bruh.
Man, listen. I am on survival mode, man. We're still moving. We're still in transition. That's why I look like I'm like.
Oh, I didn't know.
That's why I look like I'm like 2 feet tall. I'm actually a little bit taller than this. The aspect ratio is not that bad. Hang on, let me sit down.
He's lying. Like he is literally that tall right now. Okay, in real life.
Basically, that's the case. When we stand next to each other in real life, it's going to look just like.
Should I shrink myself down real quick so you
do that?
You don't feel?
Hang on, let me get a pillow. Let me put a pillow
quick.
underneath my butt,
Get
man.
some books.
Where the books?
Get some lifts in your shoes, man.
David, you're fired. David in the background talking about I'm standing up. Yes. Hey, everybody.
That is his actual height, everybody.
Oh man, objects in the mirror are exactly as they appear. There we go. That's it, man. Thanks for joining me this morning, man. Rebecca is going to be joining us, and she's coming in. You know, Rebecca comes on her own. Rebecca has her own schedule, and we just kind of acquiesce to it. We just kind of be like, okay, when she gets here, she gets here.
Of course, and that's totally fine. Where's Bubba at?
James is finally, honestly, having a day off. And I just want the record to reflect that I did not choose to use his voice like that. That was our producer, David. I said, David, you better call that man and ask him permission to use his voice like that.
I thought he was live. Real talk. That was slick. Very smart.
Yeah. We might have to sample his voice and get it where I could just type in a phrase and be like, patreon.com/the BPD show, and it comes out in James' voice.
Right.
Patreon.com for
like a Siri. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Bubba, Siri Bubba, Bubba Siri. There we go.
Siri. There we go.
Bubba Siri. We need a sketch. And that's what you do over on your channel at the Pascal Show. You cover news, you cover politics, you do sketches, you do news and pop culture. You do it all. So that's probably why you actually get like 20,000 people watching you any given moment that you go live.
Yeah, it's a variety show. So yeah, it goes from some comedy to the serious to the interviews and all that as well. And so so it's never a dull moment on the channel. You know what I'm saying? In fact, if you don't mind, I'll just say what I'm talking about today.
Please do.
And I'm very excited about it. So we are starting a little bit later than usual because of the guest that I have on today. But I actually have Bridget Colvert of so there's been a story about these two women, a married couple that were killed outside of Moab, Utah. And I did an interview with the woman that actually found their bodies. Their names are Kaylin Schulte and Crystal Turner. And today I am interviewing the aunt of Kaylin Schulte. And what's very interesting is she about to drop some new news today on the show that even the father, who has been in the forefront trying to find justice for his daughter Kaylin Schulte, he doesn't even know this yet. So we will be the first to break the news today. We will be on around 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, our time. So 10:30 a.m.
10:30
Eastern Standard Time, around that time. So yes, I am.
That's heavy, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. So like I said, I've been covering those things lately, and but we still do talk about other things. Like we just talked about the Netflix walkout, that is scheduled to happen today.
Oh, really?
In protest to the Dave Chappelle special that just went down, the closer.
Okay.
So I've been having a lot of big conversations as of recently.
I
community on and all that. So it's been very interesting. You know what I'm saying?
I have not broached the topic because I have not had the time to watch the special. I'm in the middle of a move. And be honest with you, I'm glad it's given me some time to actually just sit back and watch it unfold. Sounds like you've been covering it.
Yeah.
Being, realizing that I have no commentary on it at all right now. What are your thoughts? Help, set it up.
See, the thing is this is the reason why I brought someone of the trans community on, because obviously, one, I'm biased because I think Dave Chappelle is the GOAT. All right. I think he's
agreed.
Exactly. I think he's one of the best stand-up comedians out there. But one of the problems I had in my mind was, the argument that I had in my mind is this: if a group of people are feeling this type of way, well, let me take out the fact that like some people are just mad that it's just the trans community, right? So instantly I go, well, wait a second. What if I took out trans and just put in black? What if I took out trans and put in Hispanic, Asian, any other race or any other group of people, and put that and insert that into his stories that he was saying in the stand-up? Would that be rude? Would I be offended if he was going after Haitians? Okay, if the whole thing was about Haitians, would I be offended? Right? Would I feel some type of way about his stand-up? So that's the conversation I was having last night, right? Covering this whole.
What was your? What was your conclusion?
My conclusion is, yeah, I'd be upset. I'd be absolutely upset. But I also do feel like there was a message within, like buried within. I don't even think it was buried. I think it was in the forefront of his stand-up. But I think a lot of people are not seeing the forest through the trees. And I think that's one of the issues that's going on there, right? So that's, obviously, this is why I had that open conversation last night with Toya Washington, and she's a member of the trans community, and just had an open conversation, a tough conversation, because there's a lot of people out here that are diehard Dave Chappelle fans, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, see, that's the easy part. I don't really. If you're a Dave Chappelle fan and you can't handle this conversation, then you really shouldn't be the Dave Chappelle fan, because this is literally what he does every time he comes out with a video, right?
Bingo. So the only argument that I had is, well, at the end, near the end of the show, I'm like, well, wait a second. Isn't the stand-up that he just did the reason why we're even having this open conversation? So did his message work? Did it work?
I don't know.
Agenda to have that open conversation out there.
I gotta go watch the video and then I'll give all my thoughts on it. But I appreciate you at least broaching the subject here, because we hadn't broached it because I just haven't had time myself to see it. I think Dave Chappelle is one, if not the greatest, one of the greatest stand-ups comedians of all time. So and my only take is this, is like, why is everybody so vested in attacking the trans community? I just don't understand. And even if you don't want to call it an attack, let's say like, couldn't he have done the entire show without that part? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, so I'll go see it, and then I'll make that judgment at that point. So
right on.
That
Good
said, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying good morning. I just saw her. So
hang on, I didn't see, because I'll be. Oh, Azor is in the house. See, I'm just talking and listening. Rebecca Azor is in the house.
You good, man? You busy with your new background and trying to show that you ain't short. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't I look extra tiny, Rebecca? I know I'm a small guy.
I feel bad.
I look extra tiny today.
Should I like do my show?
Let me get closer. Let me get closer to the camera so I can look a little,
Maybe if
we look like three. It looks like three bald-headed guys on here right now, because I done took my hair down real nice, so it's giving three bald-headed men on the show right now. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Bubba.
Yeah, I'll be Bubba.
I'll be Bubba. What's going on, Rebecca? I'm so glad you could join us this morning. How you doing? Me too. I'm glad I could join you guys this morning too. Hit that snooze button about 4 times this morning. Sent me in a dream where I thought I was on the show, and then I realized I am not on the show. I'm in my bed, and then I had to grab the quickest shirt I could find. I got gym pants on, the quickest shirt I could find out of the wash pile that I was folding last night. That's sitting on the couch, while I was working. It's just a lot, but here I am, and praise God for Jesus. Exactly. That's a throwback. That's a throwback there. Listen, I want to dovetail the last conversation real quick with the clip of Rachel Levine. Is it Levine or Levine? Forgive me, y'all know I can't pronounce nobody's last name. But we were having a conversation about Dave Chappelle and Rebecca. I don't know if you had a chance to see the special. I did. You did? Okay. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen the special, and so that's why I've been holding all my commentary for it. But I want to just close out that conversation real quick before we move on with a clip from the Assistant Secretary, Rachel Levine, who is now the first openly transgender 4-star uniformed officer. Let's take a listen to the clips of her comments at her swearing in.
I stand before you in this uniform, ready to be a beacon in these dark days of COVID-19, working to serve you and this great nation. I am honored to serve as the first female 4-star officer of the U.S. Public Health Service Commissioned Corps, and the first openly transgender 4-star officer to serve across any of the 8 uniformed services. This is a momentous occasion, and I am honored to take this role for the impact that I can make and for the historic nature of what it symbolizes. I stand on the shoulders of those LGBTQ+ individuals who came before me, both those known and unknown. May this appointment today be the first of many more to come as we create a diverse and more inclusive future. Diversity makes us stronger. Each person has a different perspective and different strengths that they bring to make the whole community stronger. The time is now for our country to continue to move the bar forward for diversity. And I am proud to wear this uniform and answer that call. Earlier, I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Now I pledge my commitment to you. I pledge to be a steward of the nation's health. I commit to you that I will be rigorous in my approach. I will follow the science to build a healthier future where we work to create an environment in which no one is left behind. The health of our nation is paramount. Everyone should be treated with love, respect, and compassion. Thank you.
That is Assistant Secretary. I want to make the title correct. That is Assistant Secretary Rachel Levine, first openly transgender 4-star uniform officer. I'm all for the listen. When I heard her say COVID, like I'm all hands on. We need everybody to help us to get through the rest of this pandemic. That's the first thing that came to mind. But then, Rebecca, I heard you, because all I heard you thinking about was the diversity, inclusion, and then I just felt in my spirit that you would say, what were you thinking over there? The same thing I always think about diversity and inclusion, but I just, I think it's great that we have the first female, in representing in this, in the Corps. That for me, that to me is, and it's sad that we always have these firsts when it comes to marginalized groups, child. But it's sad that we're still doing the first. But shouts out to somebody who can represent the trans community in this big position and still get the job done, no matter who you are. I think that's really what the message here is: diversity and inclusion. I was laughing because I felt like I was in convocation too. You know how when we sit in convocation and we be like listening and be like, okay, I hear you. I love you. You're ready to tip out. And we can't say nothing. And then, you can't say nothing. You can't make a sound or anything. And it's like if something drops on the floor, they hear it. It's just a lot. But I knew it was something, Pascal, because I heard her over there chuckling. And I'm like, Rebecca, why are you chuckling in the middle of this clip? Right. I was like, see, that's what made me laugh.
Because
of all the clips that you go chuckle in front of, like we just got to talk about Dave Chappelle. Like you try to
Everybody's eyes just averted right over to her. What's going on?
Exactly. That's what I said. I made it sound, and then I'm like, dang, now I gotta laugh about it because I'm laughing about it. And I'm like, Lord.
But listen, she kept going though. Like, listen, congratulations on the position. But I didn't know the clip was that long, David. I was like, because I was getting ready to jump in.
Right.
All right, David, you could have given us a heads up or something.
Damn,
Go ahead, Pascal.
Oh no.
Man.
I agree. I think that this is I'm happy for Levine getting into that position of power. That's a very big place to be, especially someone in the trans community. And of course, the only thing that will be happening is that we're all going to be watching. That's it. I mean, you know, when Obama was in office, everybody was watching. You know
Yes, he was. Black or white, haters, non-haters, supporters. Everybody was watching.
We were all watching.
Yeah.
That's why he was on it. That's why he was always walking on eggshells, right? He didn't really do anything that crazy or that bombastic when he was in office.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to go into the conversation about Obama, but we've heard.
We don't need to go in because Ben will you again.
You saw me leaning in, Rebecca.
No, we're not going to do that this morning.
You see what I was saying, though.
I was like, and I was trying to tell George, I was
say it without saying,
y'all are really testing me this morning with the Obama praise and the Colin Powell.
That's
I'm like,
the thing. That's the thing. I can only be who I am. And you can only be who you are, Pascal.
Man.
And
That's
Ben
right.
will
That's
try
right.
to put his foot on our necks.
Nope. I've learned to keep my
But I
mouth
will
shut.
say,
I've learned the value.
Ben also was somebody who supported Obama when he first came out.
I did.
And then I understood too, as somebody who supported Obama when fresh in HBCU. He done came to the school and everything, you know, so supportive, very, very supportive. And I still love that moment for Black people, period. You know,
I
with
popped
the
bottles the
TSDA.
night he won. The night he won, I had a house full of people. We were popping bottles everywhere. My president was Black and my audience was blue.
Oh, I was sitting in my Toyota Corolla 98 gold, you know what I'm saying? And I was spinning the block at FAMU and we was all playing My President is Black. My audience, look, we were doing that.
Hey. And the first thing we did after he won was we ran up to the club, man. Everybody's at the club. So listen, you know, I got plenty of love for Obama, man. It was a celebration.
What did you do, Pascal, when he won?
I was in a bar celebrating. That's all I was doing. I kept it simple.
I wasn't of age to go to the bar yet. Yeah, that's why I was spinning the block in my Toyota because my daddy had just brought.
You were
wait.
You were doing donuts. You were doing donuts in a Toyota.
And then look, and I told you it was a Toyota Corolla 98, and it
Toyota
was
Corolla. You were doing donuts.
So my daddy had got it for me, and then he brought it up for me into to Tallahassee, and that because the first, you know, your first year you can't have it there. So the summer, you know, that summer, whatever, or spring, they allowed me to bring my car up. So
why do they do that at Black schools? They did the same thing at Bethune-Cookman, but I brought my truck up anyway, and I think I got like $1,500 of tickets in the first year. You're not going to tell me not to bring my car, and I could go to a white school and bring my car, but I digress.
They told us they did that to help you be one with the school. I'm pretty sure if I had a car, I wouldn't have been one with the school. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I literally.
Well, that's why I kept my truck. So yeah, they're right about that. Yeah.
Because then I would be all over the place. No business.
I mean, that's why I know everybody.
I went where the bus took
in Daytona.
me. I went where the Rattler bus took me. Amen.
Amen. Pascal, I want you to look at this clip with Rebecca. This is Dr. Stella Emanuel. She's one of these, and Rebecca, we've covered her before. She's the demon sperm lady. She's the one of the frontline.
Demon spawn or sperm?
Sperm, the demon sperm. You were with me when we covered that. Yeah. I think you were with me. But she's one of these quote unquote frontline doctors that have been promoting the horse dewormer, ivermectin, and they've been promoting hydroxychloroquine throughout the pandemic. Here's a clip of her. And she's talking about, she's claiming that the devil, I got to really, it's going to take me a second.
Benjamin, I got to get it. Stop right there. I mean, I mean,
she's claiming that the devil.
We still here.
I've tried to set it up properly, man, but you're right. Just play the clip, David. Don't worry about the Chiron. Play the clip.
You have power to give breath to the clones, to the images, that they will cause all those that will not take the mark to be killed. Just like you're saying, I want to assassinate those that will not take the mark, the number of the beast or the name of the beast. I don't think the mark is right now, but we're dealing with the number of the beast and the name of the beast. The Moderna vaccine has Luciferase, which is the name of the beast. Everything about this vaccine has 666, which is the number of the beast. So these clones are the devil has power to give life to the image, the clones, that they will cause people in the hospital to die. They will not give them medicine. They will make stupid laws. They will lock down cities. They will make children get sacrificed. They will go to abortion clinics. They will make you rip out babies out of the mother's womb at 9 months. The evil that is going on is not human evil. The technology that we're calling science is Nephilim technology, is demonic technology.
Why y'all didn't set me up for? I don't. Let me just.
You weren't ready.
About me.
I wasn't. I wasn't ready either.
I didn't. Why? So, we be on here, getting the
You never know what's gonna happen on this show
every single day. And then now y'all, and I told you we got to get the black folks together too, because ain't nobody above it. But why y'all had to choose? Like, I don't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, dang, my African sister. Like, come on, sis. Now, and it's funny because I know what she's talking about. And I remember I was saying that we have those religious people in the white evangelical world who, but I feel like they get paid, they get money, to send out these messages. Then you have these over religious groups. I know because growing up Haitian and Christian, there's sometimes it's like they some things that are just said are just unbelievable. And I'm like, that makes no sense, right? And it really makes no sense. What she's saying right now, where did she see that Moderna came from? Because it's Luciferian, so that makes it the mark of the beast, Lucifer. She related those two things. There is nothing relatable about that. And she is going to be the person as well on the front lines of causing people to die from COVID-19 with them evangelicals. She's gonna be right there standing hand in hand, right, with those people with this type of rhetoric that she's saying. And there are people that really believe, the over religious will believe this. They will believe this to the T. Like the fact that, remember, we were just watching the other man in his home closet. No offense to anybody in their closet right now. I don't know if you guys are in your closets, but
I'm near my closet.
Y'all. Look, I'm talking about you guys because but he was in his closet, where she does a show, and he was like, I
used to do my show in a closet too, but go ahead.
Sometimes people's closets be great. I can't wait to get into my walk-in closet and set it up like a little studio. But anywho, that's for future reference because I don't have a walk-in closet now. But but the guy was saying like literally, 666 is right here. If we add the numbers together, we're
that one, yes.
And that's what it's giving right now because you can't. It's reaching with short arms.
The guy who was like, if you take Corona and add it up, Corona, the C, the O, the R, the O, the N, the A adds up to 666. That guy.
Yes, this guy.
Everybody.
Oh man, yeah, this is where and that's the thing, Rebecca. A lot of people will believe this kind of stuff because it has the trace of religion. It sounds familiar to them. When you say the mark of the beast, people tune in. I'm like, oh, it's the end times, Pascal. Like everyone jumps, but here's the thing: it's like it's only the end times because it's of their own creation. You look at people like this. You look at this sister. She works now, and she's not by herself. She works with an entire team of frontline doctors, and I put frontline in quotes because that's their branding. Their branding is frontline. They're not literally on the front line helping anybody in COVID. They're on the front line of making money off of ivermectin. So anyway, Pascal, what are your thoughts about this?
This one breaks my heart because this is a real solid example of a waste of brain matter. This is what I think. This is Dr. Stella, like Dr. Emmanuel, right? She is a doctor. She is somebody who has studied, dedicated her life to medicine and science. And she is spitting out this crap saying, oh, that's sex demon, the demon of sex. Like, where's and then, this 666 is in the Moderna. Like
Luciferin.
She used more syllables, but Lucifer because she's a doctor. So Luciferin. Where does it say 666 in the shot? Where's the mark of the beast? What the hell? This is a full-on waste of brain matter, y'all. I'm sorry. Mix me with this nonsense.
Yeah,
if she came in with and she was doing the charts and stuff, she had a little laser pointer. She's going this, therefore, hitherto, so on and so forth.
Nevertheless,
with it. And then she goes, mark of the beast, bet. I'd be like, yo, never mind. Okay. Now I'm shivering, right? Now I'm scared. But when you're coming up here and just saying stuff with nothing to back it up.
That's right.
Why are you wasting? Well, this dude obviously getting paid. He making that shmonies.
No,
he looks so serious.
He's at one point he was like, what she talking about? At one point, if you see him staring at her, he's really looking like, and he's saying no, but it's like not in agreement. He's like, are we
look at his eyes
right now? He's like, he's literally doing the look.
He's trying to figure out if his check is worth this much right now. That's what he's like. And he's like, yep, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I hate it because I hate that she has to be, I hate to see our people doing this. And then, look, like T-Mummy, you know what I'm saying? Like, please, why? You're a doctor. I hate that you're using your platform in this way, because now it's giving just the same. It's the same thing. I told you, none of y'all are, when it comes to COVID-19, if you are going to use your platform to spew out directly, not to try to get information or whatever, you're literally giving people misinformation and you're using religion to do it. Like
Stu Peters is his name. Stewie. What was the name of that show? From Family Guy?
Yeah, you're talking about Family Guy.
Yeah, no, but the name of the host of that show that she's on right now is Stu Peters.
Yeah,
Stu Peters TV. Dr. Stella Emanuel, Stu Griffin. That's the one. That's what he reminds me of.
Looking like a straight up pelican up in this.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I did it. I'm sorry.
Stu Peters.
I'm sorry.
I don't really like his name like that.
So
Why is it one? Is it Stu Peters? Stu Peters.
Stu Peters. Wait. Put it back up on the screen. Hang on.
Stu Peters.
Put it back on the screen. Aha, Stupider.
So it's his name. So what's his name? Who's doing this? What is this? What is this?
Stupider.
I'm looking this dude up real quick. Real talk. I'm looking up this website. Real talk.
Stupider's TV.
Stupider TV. My guy today. Stupider TV. We are so childish.
I'm sorry. I call it like I see it. I'm sorry. If he was bringing in real facts and bringing in real guests talking, I wouldn't be roasting him like that.
Oh my God. Stupider.
Look, and we see how we gotta roast her too. Y'all roasted her for filth, but look, we be so clear. We be so quick to get right to the white person.
It's the brain matter. I did my due diligence. You feel me?
Listen, he called
closet with voodoo dolls. You know this, y'all. Come on now.
Listen,
ivermectin in the corner too.
Rebecca, would you say we're not gonna have black slander on this show too long?
we like, okay, we slandered her enough. Okay, look at that.
Now look at this stupid ass.
Look like a damn bird.
We found something.
Pelican looking head ass.
Stu hitter. Like, really, guys?
I'm sorry.
Look at that.
I'm sorry. I love all people. Okay. Equal opportunist of roasting here.
Oh my God.
But yeah, his website's very interesting. It's just Red Voice Media.
Red Voice Media. Is this even is this in the United States or is it something international?
It looks like
it's probably another one of these Newsmax, OAN people who get money from the algorithm to do this stuff.
Yeah, he's getting supported by for show. He's sponsored by My Pillow. Done.
Oh wow.
My God.
Story's over. Story's over.
He's sponsored by My Pillow, and I think they do this thing on purpose too, because we see how they do it here. As soon as we saw Nicki Minaj and we see Kyrie Irving and all these black people speaking about speaking against the vaccine in any kind of way, what they do, the right all of a sudden becomes a loving and opening cornerstone
for these people, and they are the representation of them now, and they become their voices. The people be like waking up the next morning now seeing themselves on posters and cars for the right, alongside Trump 2022 is like those things. 2024, y'all. I meant to tell you guys on Sunday, real quick. I went on, people are really still doing this. I went on a trip, and this is the worst pivot. I don't know, but I went on a trip on a Sunday. I went to the sunflower fields in Dawsonville, Georgia. And my whole drive there were Trump 2024 signs, I think it was. And they were everywhere. Such a beautiful drive. Just when you're looking at beautiful mountainous things, and you're gonna run into a lot of American flags and Trump 2024. These people really are pushing.
Oh yeah.
And I say this to say, I can't believe that they're not letting go. They're holding this one by the nuts. They literally are like, Trump 2024, I don't want to get up off of this. Like, I don't. And it's all because we live in this stupid world where they really believed a man who told them to put hydrochloroquine, whatever in their body, and hand sanitizer in their bodies,
bleach in their blood. Oh my God.
Bloodstream.
Oh my God.
They're believing this man till this day, the man that left them for dead after they stormed the Capitol on January 6th.
You're amazing, Rebecca. That's all I gotta say. Nuts. Nuts. Hydrochloroquine.
I just can't believe it.
You said Akeem Elijah.
I love it.
I don't know how to say it. Whatever, but yeah.
Oh man. Well, I don't know how to say the next name. I'm just going to say that now as we get ready to pivot. This is a day of the worst pivots, but we're going to pivot here. Again, I don't know how to pronounce. And maybe it's how do you pronounce? I obviously know how to pronounce Acre, but it's a Spanish name. The Bolivian president. Make sure before I want to get into the don't want to get too far in the story without messing up this man's name. That said, let's jump into it. The Interior Minister says that members of the same group that killed Jovenel Moise were plotting to kill the Bolivian president, Luis Acre, in 2020.
It's giving Arce.
Oh, I am so dyslexic. I spelled it ACRE. See, that's what quiet as it's kept. And quiet as it's kept, that's what it is all the time. I reversed that C in there. It's Arce.
That's all right.
Luis Arce in 2020.
10 times.
So, see, we work together. Like, I know how to say hydroxychloroquine, and you know how to read these without being dyslexic.
Benjamin.
I can't say it while I'm laughing, man. This is a serious story, man. This is a dead ass serious story.
Sorry
about an attempted assassination.
Sorry, go ahead.
Of a global leader, Hakeem Olajuwon. My God, Hakuna Matata. All right. So anyway, that's all the setup I'm going to do. I massacred it. They believe that the people who killed Jovenel Moise, the Haitian president, had a plot to kill the Bolivian president as well, and it was thwarted.
Okay, so go ahead. So if you came up, David, that means that you have something to add.
Just that the clips are in Spanish. There was very, very few sources on this, so there's subtitles in English. If you want to play it, you can read the subtitles for the audience. But
no, just run it as B-roll as we but I will give the context of what's being said there. In the first clip is saying it's no coincidence that those now detained in Haiti for their participation in the assassination of Jovenel Moise had been in Bolivia days before and after the election of the Bolivian president. And then the other report states that Colombian mercenaries involved in the assassination of Haiti's Jovenel Moise entered Bolivia days before the 2020 election as a part of a plot, according to assassinate the president. So, just more information coming out on the actual group that was behind the assassination of, allegedly behind the group. Because as far as I know, Rebecca, and you could probably give us a better update. What is the what is the status of the investigation? Where are they now, the people of Haiti, as it pertains to the assassination of Jovenel Moise?
Child, it's still he say, she say. So like I think like 3 weeks ago, they said that the Prime Minister Ariel Henry was at the front and center of as the person who led the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moise. And since then, the chatter has now been minimal about that. And he said that he didn't do anything. He said he wasn't a part of that, although there was alleged proof that he was in contact with people who were a part of the killing, the murder of the president, the Haitian president. But I will say stories like this and a lot of the things that are going on in Haiti, that's why I haven't really said anything, because there's a lot of things that are just happening in this particular moment that I'm trying to piece and tie together outside of the assassination, that we're still trying to figure out.
You're still dealing with that earthquake.
Still dealing with people with earthquakes, still dealing with people trying to figure out where most of those people still went from the border.
That's right.
It's so much, but I'm trying to tie all those things together to give you guys some clarity on what's going on with planes magically falling out of the sky in Haiti. Just last night, there was a plane that fell out of the sky in Haiti. Yes, and it's just a picture of a plane on the ground. Not blown up or anything, but it fell out of the sky. And this was news that came out from Jacqueline Charles of Miami Herald. When she posted it, she just posted the alleged there's a plane that fell out of the sky, and there was a picture. Now that was late last night. Didn't wake up this morning with any updates. But if you find anything, let me know, Pascal. But in this whole particular moment, listening to this, it's almost like these different news stories come out and it pushes Haiti's actual matters to the end. And I feel like this Bolivian story, if it's true, then
that's a lie.
Who is leading?
Who are these guys?
Who is leading these strings of trying to assassinate these presidents? Who's really at the top of this? And why would they start in Haiti and then go to Bolivia? Please tell me. I would love to know. And so,
for one,
Jesus Christ, Pascal.
Sorry, I'm just saying. Why is it suddenly okay? We did this, so let's do this now. But this also says, who's to say that? I don't know. All I'm saying is that I feel like any government official, highly ranked government official, should keep the head on a swivel, because it was successful here. Now they're hearing that they were trying to do it somewhere else. Who's to say that they're not trying to do it in somebody else's backyard? So I just say that out loud. I'm sorry for the callous joke there, but
no, man. Listen.
There's it just seems weird. How is it okay, if this is successful, why don't you come over here to Bolivia real quick and pick brother up too? That doesn't make sense to me. It's strange.
It's just news.
It seems like there's something bigger going on here.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
By the way, real quick, Rebecca, when you said that the plane went down, did it go down? Is this an article that you found that came out yesterday, last night?
It was from Jacqueline Charles, who works for the Miami Herald. She tweeted out. All she did was tweet out, and everybody was like, "Girl, why would you just leave us hanging like that? What's going on?" And somebody put underneath it a photo of a plane. Then another photo came out of so many Haitians surrounding that plane. Now, mind you, we're still trying to, that's what I'm saying, all this news and stuff is coming out together. I'm on Jandu's, trying to figure out what's going on. Jandu's is a popular a Haitian media page. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, how to piece together what's going on, because there's so much news and so much happening. We got the people, the U.S. Missionaries, 17 of them, who have been kidnapped there, and they're asking for $1 million ransom on each head. That story is funny to me too. So it's before I can give you guys these stories I need to really piece together what's going on, because all of this is happening at one time, and we are starting to. It's so much, and what happens is this particular news. I've never seen Haiti in the news this long, and it's because we got white missionaries in hostage. That's why
I heard about that.
So because we got white missionaries in hostage, they have literally, and they've asked for ransom. And then for the White House to go from how they, when they were going into office, they said, we're going to partner. These are people. Then they moved on to these people are immigrants, and then undocumented and whatever, and could possibly carry COVID and da 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 da. To now they're this country we don't. She said that we don't bow down to terrorists, something like that. She said, and
Who's this, Jacqueline Charles?
No. This is the redhead.
The press secretary, Jen Psaki.
Yeah, Jen Psaki. She said, we don't bow down to terrorists, and I understand that, but there's so much going on, and I'm not going to get into that conversation just yet, because I'm reading and I'm hearing from folks there, and I'm like, it's a lot, and I feel like they want to put Haiti in the media right now because people were giving Haiti the oh my gosh, the earthquake, oh my gosh, their president, oh my gosh, they're looking for a new place to stay, and the U.S. isn't sending them back and whipping them like slaves. They wanted to change the narrative, I feel like, in this particular moment. And the word traitor, terrorist is what they use. That, to me, is the same way that we looked at people from the Middle East when terrorist was applied to their name. Everybody that we knew that looked like them, they were from the Middle East, because it was in the media for so long, we called those people terrorists. We were afraid of them. And so I feel like the media is now shaping Haiti right now, because everybody was, looking at the Biden administration and saying to them, see, I said I wasn't going to get into this, but I'm just talk a little bit more. But the Biden administration, and for them to look bad as how they were treating Haiti, now the script has flipped. Okay. And now it's looking like there's terrorism happening right now in Haiti, which, if you're going to call that terrorism, this has been happening in Haiti. All of a sudden it's, oh my God, they have our missionaries. Oh my God, the same missionaries that be raping people and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got to say. I don't like when people be getting kidnapped and things like that. But y'all know when y'all go to Haiti, what happens over there. And all of a sudden this is making news, and you're using the word terrorist and all this stuff. And we know what y'all, I see what it is. I see what it is.
What's frustrating to me is that this is not obviously the narrative that is being woven right now, that's being created right now towards Haiti, is making it seem like, in America's backyard, right, in their swimming pool, there's a predator, and now it's called Haiti. And I mean, I don't want to go into too much. Obviously, I want Rebecca to do her thing. But at the same time, this whole situation with the missionaries and all this, it's just helping perpetuate the narrative that American media has been constructing for a while now. And now, instead of it being, the people in the Middle East, the terrorists are now in our backyard, and it's frustrating. It's just very, very frustrating. So I'm with what Rebecca said there. She nailed it on the head, big time.
I didn't know that Jen Psaki had called what's going on with the Christian missionaries terrorists, but
she did.
Okay, Jen. That said, Pascal, I know you got to get out of here, man. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I know
you have to get out of here now. It's not even 10 o'clock yet.
Yeah, but he has a show at 10 o'clock, but he has a big show coming up with a huge interview. He needs to go do his thing.
I'm interviewing a woman by the name of Bridget Colvert. She is the aunt of one of the women that went missing in Moab, Utah. Colin Schulte and Crystal Turner were two people that were savagely murdered, raped and murdered, and left outside of a trail in Moab, Utah. And it's been this unsolved case that no one really knows anything, but there's some new information that I don't even know yet that Bridget, Colin Schulte's aunt, is about to drop on the show today. So,
Rebecca, I got to find out what that is.
Yeah, you got to find out what's good. Thank you. I appreciate the help. I do appreciate that. The endorsement. So I'm going to be on a little bit later today not at 10 a.m., but I will be on a little bit later because this is just going to be one big exclusive interview with Colin Schultz.
Yes, like we're breaking news stories. I love that for you. I love that for you, Pascal.
Thank you.
So I'll definitely check it out.
Please
and so that we can. I want to know what's going on too. I want to get the
I
tea.
do.
I want
I
to know.
need to find out the information. Yep. I was going to tell him earlier. He did that earlier. I'm like, man, how you going to tease that good on the show? Like, I'm still trying to learn how to do the tease appropriate. He came over here and just teased twice, like back to back. Like, and I'm sitting here like, oh man, this sounds amazing. I've got to be there.
Honestly,
so everybody at 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central.
He ain't say 10:30. He said 10-ish. He didn't say 10:30.
Well, earlier he said, "We'll give us the best time for us to tune in and find out what's going on here, Pascal."
I would say 10:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Rebecca.
He didn't say 10:30. He said
10:30 earlier before you were late. You were late and you missed it. You missed it. That's your fault. All right, folks.
That's your doing.
We're going to get out of here. We're going to go over to the after party. Pascal, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody go over to the Pascal channel. As always, subscribe, like his content, and tune in at 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central to find out all yes, update.
I'm fixing it. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Rebecca ain't going to let you get away with that picture.
Wow. Okay. I'm working on it. I swear to God.
All right. Okay.
Anyway,
hey man, everybody needs a sister in their life to be like, hey, Rebecca did it to me. She said, if you wear that Brian Gumble vest one more time. So anyway.
Well, Ben, I don't know what you're saying because you're froze.
Yeah.
Am I frozen?
Mm-hmm. And it's not a cue. It's not.
Get me off the screen. Get me off the screen, David. Let's go to break, and when we come back to after party, let's take it out of here.
Bye, Pascal. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next portion of the show. If you guys are not coming to the after party, take it over to Pascal's. Wait on him. Or you guys can become a patron today at patreon.com/like it or not. If you want to make sure that you free Bubba and I so that we can be here on time and not pressing that snooze button about 4, 5, 10, 11 times, please definitely head over to patreon.com/like it or not. I love you guys so much. Mean it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. And I'll see the rest of you at the after party.
Y'all stay tuned.
Every day is just the beginning. Take it to the bank, now I'm winning. Call me crazy, tell me lies. It won't stop me, watch me rise. No more anchors holding me down.